All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and get started. We got Ryan and Kevin on, so you guys are just going to get the show today. So the first thing so what we're talking about today is how to go about creating a pipeline of deals so that you have deals. So before you start going out and looking for deals, the number one thing you actually need to do is you need to go through and create a set of criteria so that when you're looking for deals, you're not looking for stuff either out of your price range and you're not wasting your time because there's so many deals on the market and they're moving so fast, especially right now. If you have a very loose set of criteria, you're not going to be able to be effective, right? Because you're going to be wasting your time, whether it's scrolling through the hundreds and thousands of properties on Zillow or whatever it is. So what you need to do is you need to create a general criteria based on your budget, your desired level of work, and your general timeline for how you want to be flipping these things, right? And so more complex rehabs are more expensive and more complicated, but they tend to be more lucrative, right? Like the more work you're doing, typically the more value you're creating, and then you're getting paid for that. On the flip side, on the other end of the spectrum, the less complex deals are faster and better for beginners typically, right? There's less risk because you're really just buying a property that needs a little bit of cosmetic work. You're going to make less money on your deals, but you can typically do more deals. So both of these options can be good, but it's personal preference, it's capital, and it's it's like I said, you have to decide this for yourself. And so, they can both be good, but it's based on risk tolerance. And we go through that process, how to decide for you, how to set those goals, how to make that process in our course, which we'll be launching in the next month or so. And we might do another live on how to do that, but that's not what we're here for today. So what we're here for today is where you can find these best deals. And so there's really two buckets in my mind. Maybe not everyone would define them this way, but in my mind, there's two buckets. One is your traditional sources, and the other is your sort of new and non-traditional sources. And so for the traditional sources, you obviously have the MLS, you have Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, et cetera. All those deals are going to be pulling mostly from the MLS, but there's also, some ability for people to just list properties on there as well. There's Realtors, obvious one. There's wholesalers and what we call bird doggers. There's skip tracing, and then there's also driving for dollars, which I kind of lump those in. Excuse me. Okay, Drea, hello, welcome. That's exactly what you were going to ask. Okay, I'm glad I answered that for you, or glad we'll cover that. And then the second bucket is you have your new and your non-traditional. So that's, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, and then these off-market deal clubs that have started popping up. And so in terms of the MLS, right, and I'll lump in Zillow, the MLS, Redfin, all those together because they kind of work the same way, right? They're internet platforms to help market deals. And so typically to get access to the MLS, you're going to have to go through a realtor or realtor.com, and that will typically have all the same data. Realtor.com we don't really like. We mostly use Zillow and Trulia. We find those to be the best websites, but so what you're going to want to do is like we said, the first step is to develop your parameters, right? And so once you develop, hey Keith, what's going on, brother? Glad you're here. You didn't miss much. Basically, so I'll rehash. The first thing you need to do is set up your deal criteria, right? And so the first source of deals we're talking about is the MLS and internet-based aggregation platforms, aka Zillow. And so what you need to do is you need to input your parameters into these platforms, right? So if you're looking for a 4-bedroom house with 3 baths, and you want it to be in a certain area, certain zip code, and you want it to be under $400,000 or whatever it is, you can set that up in Zillow in these platforms so that they're sending you automated emails every day about new listings. The major key on that one is going to be to like focus on staying disciplined, right? You have to be prepared to move quickly. So everyone gets access to these types of platforms. So that's where the competition is going to be probably close to the highest. And so you're going to have to be prepared to move quickly, which is why it's super important that you don't get over your skis and you don't start getting, chasing deals around that you either A, don't fit your criteria, or B, you're not really qualified for in terms of the amount of work it's going to take or anything like that. Or okay. And then so for the next traditional source is realtors. Realtors is pretty straightforward, right? They're going to have access to all these deals on the MLS. They're also going to have some insight into deals coming to market and some off-market deals. So what you want to do with realtors is you want to find realtors, hopefully more than one, but at least one realtor who has some experience working with wholesalers and working with flippers especially, and you want to build a relationship with those people. And we talk about, we'll talk about that in the beta version of the course, how to build these relationships with these realtors. But you want to build a relationship so they're coming to you and they view you as someone who can buy a deal. Now, the major key with these people, again, is build that relationship, and they can become a great resource for you because they're in the market more, as much or more than you are even. And so, the pros to that is they'll send you they'll do most of the legwork for you. You just have to kind of filter through the deals that they send you. And again, the realtor has access to deals that they'll be sending to more than one person. So you're not the only person they're going to be working with, unless you have some special realtor that you've formulated an amazing relationship with, and they'll bring you stuff first. That would be great if you can get that. And then the other downside is a lot of realtors, there are great realtors out there, but one downside to realtors is they can be focused more on the deal itself rather than building the relationship. So the onus is on you to build that relationship. Not only that, but they will sometimes focus more on getting a transaction done versus getting the best deal for you or looking out for your interests rather than theirs. And that's just a general rule of thumb in this business, right? Okay, so the next what we call traditional sources, wholesalers and bird doggers. So if you guys aren't familiar with wholesaling, basically what these people do is they go around looking for people who are, in foreclosure, in pre-foreclosure, are, if you've ever seen a house there's a little sign that says "We buy houses for cash," that's a wholesaler. They're looking to buy cheap off-market deals and flip them for a quick profit to people like us who are actually going to do the work on the flip, or are going to do like the BRRR method, which we talk about, but we don't recommend, especially for people who are getting started in real estate. And so then you have bird doggers, which are people who, I don't know if you're familiar with the hunting term. Bird doggers are dogs that run out and they make the birds fly into the air so people can shoot them, right? And so basically, in real estate, what they are is deal hunters, really. So they'll go flag a deal down for you. You pay them a fee if the deal gets closed, or sometimes just for finding the deal. And so the benefit here is that you can get off-market deals, and especially if you have built a relationship kind of similar to the realtor. And you'll find that in any business, but in this real estate business, relationships are your network is your net worth, right? So it's something that we constantly are working on for ourselves and for Craig's flipping business, and it's something that we teach all our students to work on. And so, and then the downside is that you're going to pay these wholesalers a little bit of a premium because they have to make money too. And then the bird doggers, obviously, you're paying on a per deal basis. So then, this is maybe not as traditional of a source, but if you take the place of a wholesaler, you can do what's called skip tracing, right? So skip tracing is like using publicly available data to track down the owner of a property. So if there's an abandoned property, for instance, or there's a property that is in foreclosure, although that's not happening right now, or pre-foreclosure or something, just some sort of distressed situation, skip tracing is a method by which you can track down the owner of that property, and then you can approach them about potentially buying it. And then driving for dollars is kind of doing the same thing, but on a more manual basis, where you're literally driving around looking for properties that could potentially be in distress, and you're typically, finding these properties through different public databases. And so there are some free and some obviously paid databases for both of these things. These are extremely high effort, but they'll cost time and definitely money as well. Lindsay, welcome to the stream. And so the last place that we really talk about for finding deals is what we'll call the online marketplaces, and these off-deal market clubs. And so Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist are increasingly becoming a good place to find deals. people don't want to pay realtors the 5 to 6, 7%, whatever it is, depending on where it is. So sometimes they'll list their properties on Facebook, on Craigslist, and this is especially true of people who are, like we said, sort of in that position where they're a little bit distressed. They need to get rid of the property quickly, and they want to just get the deal done without sort of a lot of the traditional processes that you go through with a realtor in a fully marketed deal. And so this is, a little bit on Craigslist. Obviously has been around for a while. Facebook Marketplace is a little bit newer, and it's hard to automate this. I personally, maybe I'm just not familiar with the platform. If somebody knows how to do it, that would be great. But I have not figured out how to automate this. It'll send you a list of, you'll get emails saying, oh, this house, this house, this house, but it won't fit your criteria, and it won't do that. And so again, with all these things that are automated, it's really easy to get lost in the sauce and just see so many deals that you don't know what to do, yada yada yada. That's why it's so important to have that deal criteria, and that's why it's such a key part of what we teach. And so the other thing to look out for on these platforms is scammers. Like, I don't know if you guys have joined deal sourcing groups, even on Facebook, not even Facebook Marketplace, but Facebook groups, and Craigslist especially. Scammers love Craigslist. People will just people have no shame. So you just have to keep an eye out for people who are looking to scam you. So if people are asking for your Venmo, asking for your Cash App, asking for anything other than, if people are asking you for cash in a creepy way, just be ready to walk away and just have your little antenna up and just, I don't like to say don't trust people, but just be wary, because there can be a lot of people who aren't looking out for your best interests. And then the last place we'll talk about, is these sort of off-market deal clubs. And so these are kind of what you want to get into and are related to the wholesalers and the skip tracing and stuff. But and you can probably get these relationships by reaching out to your local real estate investing club. These people it's basically just kind of like our Facebook group, right? Like, we are here talking about how to flip houses. They basically just have groups where they're talking about deals that are coming into market or deals from wholesalers. And so it's pretty much just a club to get those deals, get access to those deals. Sometimes they're paid, sometimes they're free, but typically you have to network your way into them. Although if they're paid, you can probably pay your way in. So, that's kind of what I wanted to cover today. We have a few people on, and I can see comments. Does anybody want to ask a question? I have about 10 minutes that I can answer questions. Keith, I know you said you wanted to ask some questions, so. All right, I'm going to take that as nobody has any questions. If you guys watch this video on replay and you have some questions, just drop them in the... Oh, is there a good place to search for foreclosures? So foreclosures there's typically public databases of foreclosures, and right now there are no foreclosures. There's a national... I'm waiting, Keith. There is a national there is a national moratorium on foreclosures right now. So you won't be able to find any foreclosures. Should you ever work with a partner? Well, that really depends on in what sense you're working with a partner, right? Is this person going to be someone that you're building a long-term relationship with, and are you going to be, are they going to be working on the house with you, or are they just providing funding? Give me some more details, Keith. And yeah, Drea, nowhere. That's a national moratorium on foreclosures right now. And also, Drea, on Zillow, you can set up foreclosures as one of your conditions. Someone for either a one time or many times when they provide equal anything. Yeah, so Keith, I would say, I'm all for working with a partner. Obviously, I've partnered with my dad on working on BFSR and building out this flip school that we're building. We're just starting out. On the flip school side, obviously, my dad has 30 years plus of experience, and I have, lots of experience working on the financing side, although, not necessarily as much on the flipping side. And so working with a partner can be great. And it really comes down to who you're partnering with, what they bring to the table. And, if you do see that relationship with them, if it's somebody who you have a lot of trust in and who you like to work with and who you can see getting along with, then yeah, it could make a lot of sense. Now, if it's somebody who you don't know and you just, have, you just have, you have one project and you are looking for financing, you're just starting out with this person, that could also be good. I'm not going to say that that doesn't mean it won't go well. In that case, you just have to be a little bit more business-like up front, right? And create contracts and outlines for how things are going to go, how responsibilities are going to be assigned, et cetera, et cetera. So for these methods, you are speaking of, is this for regular homes that need to sell? So right now, it would be mostly people who are selling homes through the MLS. That's how we actually find most of our deals, is through the MLS. So that's our main source. But so wholesalers also go out and they are doing that driving for dollars piece, right? So they're actively looking for people who need to sell their homes. And even though there's no foreclosures, that doesn't necessarily mean people aren't looking to sell their homes quickly and for cash. People like to sell their homes for all cash, upfront with very little very little issues, and so or very little process rather, and that's what the wholesalers generally are providing. And so wholesalers will have some deals, but a big source, to your point, is foreclosures, and so it's difficult for them to be finding those right now. And so from what I understand, I don't do wholesaling, but from what I understand, wholesaling has been tough the past year or so while that moratorium has been in place. Keith, so yeah, so in terms of price range, right? So that's really hard to just throw out a number. Depends how much money you have. It depends what kind of project you're looking for. So at the beginning of the video, and you can go back and watch the replay, I walked through what are the different dynamics that determine what type of property you're going to make, or going to invest in rather. So yeah, for 100,000 cash, are you looking to invest all of that, or are you looking to invest just a portion? I'll take that to the bank. Thank you, Drea. Okay, so if you're using your own money only, right, you have kind of your budget right there, right? You can purchase the house for a certain portion of that, and you can do renovations. And so, there's I'm sure there's houses out there you could purchase 20,000 that need 80,000 of renovations, and I'm sure there's houses you can purchase for 80,000 that need 100,000 or 20,000 of renovations. So if you're only planning on using your own cash, your budget is combined renovation plus purchase price is 100K, right? Does that make sense? Yeah, that's true. They are very small deals. But look, if you can make $20,000 on your first deal, right? That's a 20% return. That's kind of at the low end of what we look at, right? So we're when Craig is doing his flips, he's typically looking at 40% plus return. So let's just say you get the low end and you get 20%. That's 20K. So next time when you go and do that, you have 120K to invest, right? And so what's 20K of what's 20% of 120K? Well, it's 24, and so on and so forth. And so that keeps growing. And typically if you invest in a project that is more on that 80-20 rather than 20-80 split, you can do it more quickly because it needs less work. And hopefully, you'd be able to take advantage of this hot market. And so I personally have never done anything in that price range. But I do know that there are a lot of people who do that price range and make a lot of money doing it. All right, guys. I'm glad I could answer your questions. I have to bounce. Drea, thank you for the compliment. That made my day. And Keith, keep asking questions and take some action. Thanks, guys. Bye.